Okay, this is Sonnet 116 by William Shakespeare. Quite clearly, it is a sonnet, and it is therefore about love. However, unlike most of Shakespeare's sonnets, this is not directed from one man to a specific woman. Instead, this is Shakespeare's dictionary definition of love. But obviously it's Shakespeare, so he's going to use much more romantic, flourishing language and imagery rather than giving us a plain, simple definition. Shakespeare is speaking very much to people to highlight what true love is. If you already know, then great. If you're not sure, well, Shakespeare's about to tell you. According to Shakespeare, and here are your key vocab for your point about this poem. True love is strong, lifelong, it's a commitment, it's everlasting, and it's unfaltering. So always important to start with the structure of a poem. We will be marked for our analysis of structure, form and language, and structure can often be the one we forget. So this poem follows a clear sonnet structure. As you know, a sonnet should be 14 lines long, and here it's all one stanza, which is the traditional format. It's also written in iambic pentameter, 10 syllables per line, following a sort of heartbeat rhythm, very key to what Shakespeare believes true love is. So it would sound, for example, just picking a line, or bends with the, remove, the to, remove. Oh no, it is an ever fixed mark. Shakespeare also, although it may not seem like it, does end this poem with a rhyming couplet. When Shakespeare was writing in the 1600s, the dialect in which he wrote in was different to perhaps what we would imagine. He didn't write in the sort of Queen's posh English, and so here the word proved would be in Shakespeare's time pronounced proved. So his rhyming couplet would sound, if this be error and upon me proved, I never writ nor no man ever loved. Here the rhyming couplet, as always, stressing his key point like his concluding argument to the whole poem. Now let's just look at 3 key lines that would be very worthy of analysis within Peter paragraphs in your exam. Throughout the whole poem there are metaphors and natural imagery repeated, but I'm going to focus just down on a few examples. First and foremost, I'm going to pick, it is an ever fixed mark that looks on tempests and is never shaken. First and foremost, we've got to understand the language that Shakespeare is using here. So when he writes an ever fixed mark, what he's actually talking about is a lighthouse. And then when he talks about tempests, a tempest is actually a storm at sea. So this is the imagery that he's using. But we need to understand why he's using this imagery. Firstly, Shakespeare uses the lighthouse, the ever fixed mark, as the image of true love. It is a strong, permanent structure and offers a guiding light. The tempest, on the other hand, represents the tough times within a relationship, those fights or arguments that are quite common. What makes Shakespeare's image so strong, however, is the imperative never. The ever fixed mark of true love is never shaken by any argument, no matter how tough or serious that argument, that tempest may be. Shakespeare proving that true love, and the emphasis needs to be on true love, is not defeated or broken by these arguments. Once again, true love lasts through these difficult times. The next line I want to look at, which is one that complements the last one very nicely, is this line. It is the star to every wandering bark. Once again, we need to understand this word bark first and foremost. This bark simply represents a ship at sea. I hope you appreciate my drawing. The star here, well, obviously it is a star in the sky, but it represents the compass point of north, the North Star, which was a navigation tool used by sailors before the invention of our delightful GPS. Finally, once again, Shakespeare uses the imperative "it is." There is no doubt in Shakespeare's mind. He knows what true love is. And here the metaphor of the guiding North Star and the wandering ship, the wandering bark, shows us that true love offers guidance, direction and purpose. True love gives meaning to our lives and stops us wandering about aimlessly. The final line I want to look at for this brief video then is this one here. Love alters not with his brief hours and weeks, but bears it out even to the edge of doom. Firstly, love is brought to life with personification. Love alters not with his brief hours and weeks. Interesting that Shakespeare uses the masculine pronoun for love. He doesn't capitalise it, otherwise we would expect it to be a reference to God and religion, but still gives it the masculine strength here. Shakespeare's choice of language, but bears it out, seems to be an acknowledgement again that there will be difficult times in relationships, just like the reference to Tempest earlier on, but true love always survives them. This might be a useful point to link to those poems such as Our Love Now, where those difficulties in a relationship are thought to be tragic and fatal, that we can't overcome them, whereas Shakespeare says we can. And finally, this reference to the edge of doom being a metaphor for death, and perhaps actually a link back to the reference to the wedding vows that he began with. Let me not to the marriage of true minds admit impediments. The line the priest asks if anyone here knows of any lawful impediment as to why these two shall not be married. Here he seems to be referencing the end of the marriage vows, till death do us part. So there you are, Sonnet 116 by William Shakespeare, his definition of true love that survives everything, lasts forever, is never defeated. A very firm metaphor for love, which in his final rhyming couplet he is so certain of. If anyone could prove his definition wrong, he claims he's never written a word and no man has ever truly loved.